people. If they work at go, if they worked at Golden West, don't hire.
Approved.
All right, I'm gonna unmute this.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been gone for 6 months. Like,
That's okay.
I can't even, was it February, the last meeting? I was at?
Yeah. I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm trying to solve this one. Yeah, I would imagine it's crappy software if I know human resources. But
So he was gonna call the recruiter, but I haven't talked to him today.
I haven't either.
I don't know if he did or not.
You can only tell me so much. Oh, well, the good thing is my boss is not annoying. Okay, so like, but it's delayed and it's giving other people a chance to interview ahead of it. So that's kind of unfortunate. Just trying to convince him that.
Okay.
You're gonna be wide, it's right here.
June glance.
That's my pick. Play along, that's right.
We ready? See if I remember how to do this. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm Chairman Thomas. I'd like to welcome everybody to the North Ogden City Planning Commission meeting, April 20th, 2022. We'll begin our meeting by an invocation or thought given by Commissioner Watson, followed which will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Lunt. Go to the point. Commissioner Watson.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful for this opportunity we have to gather together as a planning commission. We're grateful that we live in the wonderful city of North Ogden. We pray that thy spirit will be with us, guide us, and we may make the best decisions possible for the city. We say these things in Jesus Christ, amen. And I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll make note that all are in attendance tonight. We have no public here, so we'll forego our opening meeting statement, being that the applicant is the city. And if they don't know how to conduct themselves, then we'll ask them to leave. Ex parte communication or conflicts of interest tonight on the agenda. Any commissioners? All right, do we have any public on, are we still like doing online with it?
So we have two staff members, Police Chief Dirk Quinney and Lauren Gardner, City Engineer.
Okay. Well, we'll open up for public comments. If anybody would like to make public comments on an item not on the agenda, please do so at this time. If you're online, just raise your hand or enter a chat. Anything?
Did I hear that all the only attendees were staff members?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on to our administrative item tonight, item number 5. Site plan review 2022-2, consideration and action regarding an administrative application, site plan approval of the North Ogden City Public Safety Building located at approximately 2550 North, 500 East. Presenter will be Scott Hess, our planning director. Scott?
Let me get this down to the site plan real quick. So we have for planning commission consideration tonight, site plan review for our new public safety building. I don't know if any of you noticed the construction going on, but we've begun disconnecting utilities at the old police station, hooking up some temporary utilities. The house on the corner will be coming down in the next day or two. The garage is down. The storage and other sheds and those sort of ancillary uses that were related to the community garden have largely been removed. So the site's moving forward. This is
So there's no community garden this year?
no community garden in this location. So Tiffany Staley, our Parks and Rec Department Director, is looking for an alternate location for that. I think that that'll be happening, but not in this location. That'll be the corner of the parking lot as shown in the site plan. In preparation for this item, the property has been rezoned to civic use. That's something that is to be coming for all of our all of our city-owned properties. And they'll come with a site plan. So for those areas that are currently improved that are not civic zoned, we'll create site plans. This one was rezoned and then this is the site plan following it. In the civic zone, there are some limited items for the planning commission's consideration. It's not like a commercial site plan where you'll look at exterior building materials. I did include the exterior renderings in the packet, just so you're aware of what it is proposed to look like, matching complementary to this building. And then up until just a few days ago, there were two brick examples. There was kind of a slate gray color and a dark red that were outside the east doors, but I think those have been moved since they were doing construction on those. At any rate, what you'll be looking at tonight are fencing regulations, have some discussion on exterior lighting, the trash enclosure, parking and loading, and traffic and access. And that's pretty well it, outside of just some basic site design requirements like open space and that sort of thing, which this building is part of the entire campus here. So we have the open space, we can meet the green space. The items for you to look at really are going to be related to parking is the big thing on this site plan. So we'll jump in here real quick. On the screen, I've got a proposal of the proposed building, just over 27,000 square feet. To orient you, this building here is City Hall. This is the east door. Right now, that east door runs down a sidewalk to the sidewalk, and then there's surface parking here. So the new building will come essentially up to the line of the edge of the parking. So they'll consume all of the parking over there on the east side that wraps around behind the current public safety building. This building will stay in place on temporary utilities up until the point that they're able to move into the new building. So, and then they'll tear it down. So they're going to build the new structure essentially around the old one to the east and south. And then the location of the little orange brick house was right down here on 2550 North. Community Gardens were here on the corner. And we have that temporary asphalt exit up here, kind of on the north side, exiting out onto 650 East. New building is larger. It's designed to accommodate build out of the city, which at current policing rates is approximately 1 full-time officer per 1,000 people. So we'd be up to roughly 40 officers on split shifts at full build out. And what this does is this has, I want to say 36, I'm going to get it wrong for what the parking is, but this has 41 dedicated stalls behind secure fencing for both staff and police vehicles. Talking to Police Chief Quinney, that works for us as you don't have every officer on hand at any one time. They're going to split their 24-hour rotating shifts, but you're going to have a little bit of a different situation than we currently have, because the parking as proposed will have a gate access here on the southwest side of the new parking area, as well as gate access off 2550 North. So everything for the proposed building will be behind secure fencing and wrought iron fencing that will be essentially hidden and protected. And that way they'll have secure ability to bring people in. They'll have all of their police vehicles secured and lighted and all held separately, not parked out in the public parking lot. Do you have a question?
Oh, yeah, where is the public supposed to park?
Yeah, so the public will park, we'll have the stalls that are on the south side of the City Hall parking or building here that will still be available. And we have those parking spaces that are out to the north of us across from the monument and the grass area are all shared use parking with the city. Where we're thinking we're short, if you look at the ordinance, this building per our ordinance would be classified as an office building, and that would require 1 parking per 250 square feet gross floor area. This is about 10,000 square feet, so that'd be 40 parking spaces, which the city's going to have to grow significantly to have 40 people need to park here. Even on busy days, there's no need for that. So what our recommendation is, do you disagree? I mean, there's about 10 people in this building now.
Okay. And
You're saying in this city building?
In this building. So that would be just in this building.
I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah.
Okay, but this is a multi-use facility, the whole complex.
Yeah.
And, there's times when there's a lot of people that show up to a meeting here, something like that. And so, and I know this chamber isn't big enough to handle maybe the numbers we're talking about, but, I just making sure we're not selling ourselves short here.
Well, the parking out to north is also used by from the
Right, so now there's a piano concert at the library and a city hall meeting that hundreds of people want to attend. And maybe it's standing room only in here, I don't know,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
you know, do they have to park at Smith's?
Maybe. So this is the way staff is looking at this is, you have the location of the old public safety building. That could be turned into potential parking. So the architect is looking at that. And then also right across the street here, across 2550, the city has committed to constructing another parking lot adjacent to the community center. And so the city would recommend planning commission look at this as a whole shared use campus, essentially, and commit to providing 40 additional parking spaces for the use of City Hall, and maybe those are shared use parking in some cases, like the senior center across the street, but that 40 is approximately the number that we're looking at. And I don't think that that's 40 needed right now, but over time or when.
What I'm looking at is the proposal says they got 41 stalls,
This is for the police station, so everything that's a.
but
police
we're
car-
losing,
Yeah,
my
we're-
rough count, we lose 45 stalls for that building.
Yeah.
So we're going lower in parking stalls and adding a lot more building space on the
So-
campus.
So what we're losing is about 4 public stalls, because that 45 that we're losing altogether over there would be, think of it as all police parking, and then minus the 4 that would be for.
But everything on the east side of this building pretty much has been used by the city building, not the police.
Yeah.
Like any
It's-
given day when you come here,
Yeah, they're
from the
almost all
police
single.
station south is all people coming here, not the police
Right.
station, but.
Yep.
So if we look at it as a whole,
Mhm.
that's what I'm looking at, is police station, oh, 41 stalls, that's probably fine. Then you say, well, let's look at this as a campus. I feel like we're short by a lot then.
Well, so it would be these 41 stay, so then we're saying 40 in addition. So that would be 40 more with some potentially located here at the old public safety building and some located across the street. So you'd
Don't we
have
own that?
40 plus.
Don't we own that house that's right there where lower it says Plat A, that parcel?
This one,
No, below that.
that one.
Isn't that duplex right out there that they
I don't
rent?
know if we
It's a
own that one or
fourplex, I
not.
believe.
Yeah, the city owns that. I mean, is there a reason why we can't just make the parking lot bigger? And
Potentially. I don't know. Let me try to.
granted, that may be even saying, well, down the road,
Right.
but maybe the essence is the parking that's in front of, on the south side of the police station for now needs to stay public. And as that grows, they grow into more private parking to the north.
Absolutely.
If we were to do that, it seems like it would make sense to, instead of pulling from the south up, maybe the entrance being going west, east to west there, kind of up by that corner. It might just flow a little bit better.
Because I would hate to, I mean, we don't want the city, right now, we don't have very much green space out front of the building. We say, oh, the old police station is gonna get knocked down and turned into a parking lot.
Mhm.
That's just gonna make the place look worse. When we already own a piece over there that could be.
Yeah.
For the sake of, hey, we're gonna lose $5,000 a month in rent or whatever they get out of it. It's like, well, that's the reason we have it, is for the growth. I'm pretty sure the city owns that. whole
I think
thing
it's a
back
good
there,
suggestion
but
because I do like keeping,
I would rather have the
Green
old
space
building
out
torn
front.
down and add more grass for landscaping space for the public.
I have-
Because
I
it's
have-
not only the city, but we also share with the library.
Mhm.
I have an optional thought, but I don't know if this is time for discussion or if you want to finish.
Well, here's the other items that we can talk about. So one, the way the staff report is structured for parking is, staff's recommendation is that design and consideration for up to 40 additional parking spaces to be reviewed by planning commission at a future meeting. So it allows this to move forward. We get the building underway. We know that during construction, parking is going to be kind of a mess generally at City Hall. We're going to likely share use park with senior center across the street. So that's one issue. You could weigh in on potential location of that parking as well as the number, as the ordinance says that planning commission in civic uses for these government buildings basically gets to make a call. So like if you're concerned we're losing 45, maybe the number is 45 and then it's direct replacement. The other is this will be a lighted facility, obviously. I mean, it's behind a fence, it has security, so staff is recommending that the lighting is designed in a way to shield excess glare from residential properties. parking lot lights are downward pointed and shielded from excess glare. We really don't have, and we have an ordinance that covers that. Can't see the screen on the agenda. That's weird. And then landscape plan to be submitted and reviewed to assure that all parking lot landscape and tree standards are met. We're recommending the landscape plan be reviewed and approved administratively. We wanted to try to move this forward to hit the construction timeline, but that would be what trees are we removing, what are we replacing, and what the grass and landscaping looks like. There are some conditions in the engineer's report that are more related to improvement drawings. That's for water, sewer, and that sort of access. And then staff is recommending a few ADA accesses be added. One is actually sort of unrelated to this project in particular, but it's across the way, across the parking lot to the north out on 2600. There's a school crossing that has for a long time come across 2600 and it exits directly onto a standard curve. There's actually no sidewalk connection. Looking at a way to fix that issue with this project because they will already be out here. And then the corners of 550 East and 2550 North will all be new sidewalk wrapping around the building with ADA accessible ramps here and running up and filling out our site basically. So we're holding ourselves to the same standards for sidewalks and improvements as we would anybody else. So those are really the core items of the staff report that we would like you to weigh in on and determine on those items.
I have one question. So on it mentions in the staff report that it'll be addressed on 2550. You mentioned that in that parking, there's like a wall with wrought iron fence around and then two gated entries to the parking
Yep.
area.
Mhm.
Where's the public entrance?
The public entrance to the police station is right in between the two buildings. Right here, so it'd be on the west side of the building.
Oh.
And we have, I have added Dirk Quinney as a panelist, so I can ask him to unmute and answer some of those questions. Do that just so he's able to speak if.
I'm on. You hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, just at least one question I can answer. The public entrance is on the north side of the building, towards the west side. So it's actually on the north facing side of the building.
So where that new sidewalk goes in behind the existing police station?
Yes.
In that L.
Okay.
Right there.
Does it make sense then to have it addressed as 2550? Because that would be the back of the building.
That's
right?
true. It faces north.
No.
We are going to keep the same address we currently have, which is 2600 North.
You are going to?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, it
Yeah.
said something else in the staff.
Yep.
All right, cool.
So my thought regarding parking, to shift back to that, if I may, this is an administrative application and I don't think we don't have an ordinance to govern this, so we don't have the ability to say this, I don't think. But, I think the library, you guys have probably heard me say this many times, you're sick of it, but, the library is an ideal spot for a unload zone, a drop-off area, which I think offsets parking. If we had an ordinance that allowed for, a drop-off zone, which takes up a smaller footprint, I would be totally comfortable to offset.
Isn't that what the police station is? Is it load and unload?
I guess it is, yeah.
Just kidding.
And that doesn't bode well there, is I can't see a reason for a local zone at the police station, but I do at the library and I do in a public square like we have up front here. Like, I envision, who knows, a Memorial Day service there, at that Veterans Day service or something that could really have a lot of people. And I just really think we need to have adequate parking here, and not just rubber stamp this just because it's a city, where I think we need to really think about what does this space together need, and I think it needs more parking. That's my gut feel right now without really digging into it too much, or some kind of way to get people in and out of here.
Well, see,
For
I
an event or-
believe people are going to use the parking over to, you have a
That's true. The complex
Senior center would have to
altogether,
walk all the way from there, all the way to the north end of the building to get in.
Well, I don't think the police station is gonna generate
agreed.
a lot of public
It won't
need
do a
for
lot.
access. Like at times where you say, hey, we're gonna have a lot of people here. I don't think those people are going to the police station in groups. I think it's more here at the city building, or the library. And so,
The library has a south entrance, that's not a big deal.
it's,
Well, it is a big deal because your car has to stay somewhere. I mean, it's like you gotta get the people here. I think it is a big deal, just because this is also a plaza, which is the point of the civic zone, is for things like that, We do have a public space out there, and I don't know, like, let's say there was a protest that they wanted to stage outside, because it's hard to envision a lot of people in this building, for obvious reasons, right? But is it hard to envision a lot of people on this plaza?
No.
Not really, I mean.
On voting day, I've seen a lot of cars here.
True, and I don't necessarily want to queue up easy ways for protests, but it is the public's right, and demonstrations and and celebrations also. I'm not trying to make this just all bleak, but
I guess the second bullet on the conditions of approval are design and consideration for up to 40 additional parking spaces beyond these. I think to make up for what we're losing over on the side here, but also for growth. But do you feel like we need more than that 40? It's at 40 in addition to these 41.
for a building that this so for a building that has this square footage, I think we need to, I think, and I think I'm of the opinion that we need to meet the minimum parking standards for a building of its size. And I will freely admit that a police station probably needs less parking than a grocery store, for if it's apples to apples. But the plaza, I think, still needs to support the number of parking stalls for the buildings and things that are here and its footprint. That's kind of where I'm leaning, at least. And I'm changed my mind, please.
So is 40 enough? That's 10,000 square feet, 250 square feet gross, per user. That's what the office requirement is for parking in North Ogden in our ordinance. So that's where that number.
what's the
40
gathering building parking requirement?
I can look it up. For you.
Like for a venue or something like that? Is it more or less?
So I'll read you what the ordinance.
Or do we even have to address it? I mean, what you're saying in the staff report is, aside from this site plan, they're proposing that they're going to create 40 more stalls somewhere.
So this says, so all civic uses. 1117.4 schedule of required off-street parking spaces shall be used for business offices. So then you go up to business offices, and that's where you get the 250 square feet per basically floor area. So that's what I used. One parking space per 250 square feet of gross floor area. And then at the bottom of it, it says that the planning commission shall approve the number of on-site and off-site stalls after evaluation of park uses and needs. So the ordinance is kind of like intermixed between civic uses and other uses. So liberally reading this, the planning commission may kind of take into account a number of things like on-street parking and other, when you have a big event, parking just bleeds out and people will find a space. So you can adjust that, but I think, I've worked here for a year, so I haven't seen all the planning commission meetings, city councils that are large, but for day-to-day, 40 stalls for the use of this building is a fair number of spaces.
If you want to test it out, put the amphitheater on an item.
In those cases though, it's after hours for the library for the most part. It's not like the prime time hours. So library parking could be filled, senior center short of an event could be filled, back parking over here. So from a campus standpoint, we do have a lot of parking. Now, you might just not find the one that's the closest to the front door, which only so many people are going to get to that parking space. I just need to know what you think is the reasonable number. Is it 50? Is
I mean,
it,
in my opinion, is if the stall, I feel like, I mean, you can always use more parking, but if the stalls that we have currently, you know, the 45, the police station, all of that works when there's an event, there's overflow, and there's a way to find it. What I don't want is, let's put the police station in, and then after it's all said and done, we have less stalls.
Right.
For the public. So if we say we have 45 stalls now, including the police departments, because that's open public parking when there is an event, I would say we need that outside of their fenced area still available. So that doesn't say, hey, we're getting more stalls. If we say the 41 stalls that the police station is doing for their use is sufficient for them, I think as far as the public coming to and from the police station during business hours, the stalls we currently have now, I think, are enough to opt for operating. I just don't want to, you know, we're going to lose the parking on the east and the northeast of the city building now and say, well, not gain those back for use for.
So that's an
The
interesting
public.
question. Does the police station, and I don't know their needs, do they need all 40 of those stalls secured? Or could they handle, you know, maybe giving up 10 for public, you know, move that gate to the east a little bit and then have some of those stalls be basically given to the plaza for mixed use, meaning the police can park there and the public can park there. And I don't know if that's, I don't want to rob the police of
let's,
the security they need
I would
by any
ask,
means.
I would ask Police Chief
Yeah,
Quinn.
so Police Chief Quimby,
Winnie.
You know, I think current state, you know, that's probably adequate, but I think if I'm hearing it right, or what I understand about this building is they're sort of building it for a future
sure,
vision.
yeah.
And, you know, eventually that there will be that many employees that work in that building that will be
Yeah.
behind that secure parking. So the question is do you redesign it later and reinstall it? You just put the gate in now and then make up parking with, you know, across the street here and
Yeah.
wherever else. you
Certainly,
say.
I hope it's not coming across and I'm trying to rob the police station.
No, I
don't
mean,
wanna
I
be
think that might be adequate for right now, but 5 years from now,
Right, we're just gonna have to,
yeah,
redesign this.
are we
pay
gonna have
that
to,
money and-
you know, put more money into,
Right.
you know,
Well, it seems like that fourplex spot could be a really great, if it's possible,
Yeah.
could be a really great spot for secure police parking. And I mean, if that really is an option.
Commissioner Lunt looked it up on the county records. It looks like it's under some other name in the valley. So
Oh,
I must be mistaken thinking the city owned it. I thought
You can eminently
Mayor Taylor told me one time they owned it.
pick somebody.
Fill your parking places.
If I can, I can give you a little bit of insight on why the design is what it is. Obviously, this was designed for build out, so the parking lot is designed for 20 years in the future when we have the staff to fill it. And the gate is where it's at because it is beyond a staff entrance on the south side of the building that keeps that entrance inside the secure area. If we move the gate any ways to the west or to the east, that would leave that staff entrance and exit outside of the secure area. And that fourplex is owned by a private party.
It is, oh, okay.
There is no, the other thing is, because this is behind the secure access over here on the gate and sort of because of the configuration and design of this parking lot, there's not a public sidewalk that comes around that wraps the south side of the building here. So you have to exit the gate. So right now, this is all pretty well internal. So if you were to give up any of these spaces, we'd have to think about pedestrian access over, because right now you have pedestrian access off of these spaces around the sidewalk on the west of the public safety building in City Hall over to the main entrance for both buildings.
if we choose to use the old police station area for parking, because that front's 2,600, we probably ought to spend a little extra on landscaping and put a lot of trees there, you know, have it be covered. That's always nice to have with parking anyway. But, you know, it's also the visual front of our city complex. So if we end up choosing to use that particular area, which may or may not be a discussion tonight. You know, one of the things that could be done, I mean, it's nice to have grass or whatever, but one of the things that could be done is hedges or trees or both or something to just, you know, really make it aesthetically pleasing, both for the police station as well as the whole campus.
Well, I think as far as, yeah, like what's on tonight, if we say, hey, we feel like the 45 stalls we're losing is sufficient if they're replaced elsewhere, then we just make that as a condition.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, but where are they gonna be replaced? I don't see it.
yeah, well, that's
So they're.
for us to figure it out. That's really not up to us, but
I think the city will bring a future. We've surveyed the parcel that's remaining outside of the plaza. So that's one potential. So we could have our engineers design that, who are designing the project, and see how many parking stalls we could fit with whatever landscape we want. And then the other is this parking across the street at the senior center. We've already committed to building that backside parking out, and we have funds to do that over the next 18 to 24 months. And I think we have to expend those funds. So that will be constructed, that additional parking over there.
My personal preference on that, which doesn't matter, I guess, would be the latter, the option B that you gave there, because I hate to see the city relinquish open space and any kind of a plaza memorial.
Front,
Anything.
yeah.
Right, I mean, it's,
Parking.
to me, that adds something to the whole community when we have a somewhat, I may be wrong, or I may be in the minority opinion, but we have kind of a majestic, nice looking city campus here. I mean, we have some pride in our city, and I'd love to see it. I'd hate to lose that for parking.
Yeah.
enhance that rather than
For sure.
devalue it, right? For parking.
Are we, I think we can move forward with the bullet as proposed, up to 40 additional parking spaces to be reviewed by planning commission at a future meeting. But I think as a group, are we pretty much united to say we'd prefer it not to be in the front in that old, on the footprint of the old building?
Yeah.
Current building.
Yeah.
And then definitely back here.
Mhm.
Pay Veterans Memorial and put up a parking lot. I think there's a song about that.
I think there.
Okay,
Okay.
so then a couple other bullets, if that kind of, the sidewalks, make a condition, staff was asking about making a condition that the ADA on 2600 out front be included in this project. I would, because there isn't sidewalk on, what is that, 550 East?
Yeah.
Over there, I would propose that we just run sidewalk all the way to 2600 over there. Yeah, we're doing it.
You can make that recommendation,
And so-
but I don't know if we have, whether or not we have the right of way. I mean, the engineer, we can definitely look at it.
I mean, while we're doing it and, rather than waiting for that corner to develop and do that, just increase the ability to, granted, walking down, or you think how many people are gonna walk all the way around that entire building because that whole southeast section is all fenced in, but it just completes the street over there.
Yeah.
And then I'm okay with landscaping be approved by staff rather than come back to us.
I was also very comfortable with what I heard you say about the lighting. That sounds exactly like what I recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have a lighting plan. This has been, that I know that the engineers, they've been working on all of these plans simultaneously. So improvement drawings and site plan and architectural drawings, and meeting with the public safety committee. So what we really want to do is just, this is in some ways not as complete of a submittal as I would have liked. I would have liked to have lighting on the site plan and, some of the landscaping identified, but for the most part, to meet the city's needs, the public's needs, the building footprint and the building itself is really the core element. And we've been working around some of the items that we needed to amend. So, like this building, for instance, highlighted the fact that the front end, the nose in parking on 2550 North couldn't have been accommodated under our old ordinance that had you be 20 feet behind back of sidewalk. And 2550 is hardly the boulevard style road that we need to pull parking back away from. So this is in response, this and some of our other smaller commercial sites is where that ordinance that we've reviewed came from. And just really want to get it in front of you. And if you have concerns about lighting plan, those other elements could be rolled into the future parking stuff that comes forward, and then we can get the project at least underway from a beginning permit stages, and then bring those ancillary items to you.
Okay, so with any project, not city or not, I always feel like once we greenlighted it to a certain extent, then the second time it comes to us, I feel like we have to keep the ball rolling there, right?
Yeah.
And I've been instructed by staff here that that's not the case. And so I would just remind us that if those, if we greenlight this tonight and say, okay, and hold you to, okay, 40 future parking, and if the next time this comes in front of us and we see 20 additional parking stalls, that doesn't mean we have to move the project forward. I mean, it'd be expensive for the city and terrible, but do you know what I mean? I just want to hold the city to the same standard that we hold the public to. And I don't always feel like, and I say this because I think I sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Like, once the ball of a project's rolling, I feel like we have some obligation to keep it kind of rolling, because we've nodded it at that stage. We said, okay, at that stage. And then when things tweak just a little bit, or they don't hit those exact specifications, I still feel like, well, they put all this money into it. And it's, I don't know exactly what I'm saying here, other than.
I know exactly what you're saying, because I promoted a denial of the site plan of the Public Works building because it didn't have sufficient landscaping.
There you go.
And the city council was pretty mad at me for that, because, and the same issue, hey, we're holding this to the public to this, why can't the city do the same? And so the same issue would be here, and we're saying, hey, staff can approve landscaping as long as it meets our ordinance, So it needs to meet the ordinance. And it doesn't need to come back to us as long as it does that. Now, it can't be, it doesn't meet, but we have the authority. So, if those conditions, I'm okay with that, because again, it's our responsibility as a city to exceed our requirements for the public, not try and skirt around them.
Yeah, I actually have a different opinion about the landscaping. I mean, first of all, I have immense confidence that staff would put great landscaping out there. But I think one thing that could happen by just saying, hey, let's rubber stamp the landscaping piece is, there might be staff discussion, and internally, who knows who has an opinion about, because, staff here want more and some people want less. And I think that one thing that this is a really important, if anything, I would say this is a community asset. And having extra landscaping here is money well spent, really well spent. And I think it seems like most people agree with that. And so I might say, I'd consider having a landscape plan come back to us. It might be a quick rubber stamp on that, especially if it's not going to slow down the process. But it also is a check and balance to help us as people who represent the city to help staff potentially, and be like, hey, that's not enough. This has got to be a little better.
And
type thing.
That's a good point.
one thing to consider about that, and this is something we're doing with all of our city projects, from the roadway project out on Washington Boulevard to other areas, is it's probably going to have a high amount of waterwise landscaping and xeriscaping. So it might not look the way we have traditionally thought it might look. And that's part of that, is to showcase and highlight the city as being committed to those things, those ordinances, those water restrictions that other areas are. So just have that in the back of your mind, that if you get something that is a little more like Ivan, St. George, or Santa Clara than traditional North Ogden, that it's in the vein of trying to promote that we're not just telling everybody to cut back on water use, that
and not doing it ourselves. Yeah, no, I think that's great. But to me, that only enhances my feeling about maybe landscaping ought to come back to us just to take a look at it, because this is going to promote that, and but it's also going to set a tone. And I think we want to be water wise. I think we want to educate ourselves to that. And I think we also want to be aware of what's happening here with this, because it's visual. This is super, super visual, especially moving this building back, creating some open space in the front. And
I agree with that, Johnson, or Commissioner Webb. You don't want the recommender to be the same person as the approver in anything.
Yep.
You want dual control, and I think that having to come back to us would be the prudent thing. Much as I don't want to review extra things, but that you guys are totally capable of doing, but I think that's prudent.
Well, it may save money in the long run too, because we might, kind of like we were saying with parking, we might have it go forward, and then we see it and we're like, whoa, hold on. this is not what this is not what we expected, and that always costs more than measured twice.
And then staff, I hope you feel good about it. If it's really terrible and the public hates it, you blame the planning commission.
I love that.
At least you can part with parking limits.
Okay, we've kind of talked over the bullet points. Any other things on the site plan or as we have it, at least as a recommendation being, we've talked about sidewalks, we've talked about parking, and then landscaping coming back to us, which differs from staff report, so it'll need to be clarified in a motion. If there's not any other discussion. At this
One
point,
motion.
well, the city is the applicant. We give time for the applicant to speak. In this
Well,
case,
Anything, I would turn that over to Police Chief Quinney if he has anything else to add to the discussion, just since
okay.
I was a reviewer of plans, but they're really the
He
rooted in.
he doesn't want you to speak for him anyway.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to.
Chief Quinney, is there anything you'd like to add or comment on?
Just one thing, keep in mind that I think the city's plan going into the future is to someday own that entire block. And that will, help with future parking needs. The house, the fourplex, and the couple of duplexes there on the corner. I know that my crystal ball is broken, so I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but I've heard talks that that's the intent. So
Okay.
if that helps.
So Chief Quinn, are you getting, sorry, did I cut you off? Are you getting everything you need out of this plan? Does this satisfy the needs current and future of your department?
Yeah, we've spent 3 years coming up with what is going to meet the needs of this city for, at build out, and I think this does it.
Thank you for going to all that work and due diligence for 3 years. The work you're doing in the city and you guys having adequate resources, building facilities, it's important. So thank you for spending 3 years on it.
No, thank you guys. And if
It hasn't been without pitchforks and torches.
somewhere in this site plan, we can include 5 bronze statues of the planning commission.
How
No,
about, instead of that, how about, there's a church parking lot at the top of 1050 that could, there's some teenagers that like to frequent the area.
we just need it. We
Quid
just need a card in case we get pulled over for speeding.
Done.
All right. Any other discussion?
I just had one point of clarification. The sidewalk, if we were going to include it in a motion, there's no sidewalk now that goes all the way from 2600 all the way down to 2550.
On that
There's
east
no
road over
side,
there,
there's no sidewalk
at
like in
all.
front of the duplex or anything. And was your suggestion to then
If we have the right of way to just
include a
go all the way to
recommendation
2600.
if we have a that we recommend it or?
Yeah, again, we can't force it
Sure.
because it's not within our purview. That
Yeah,
we
it's
only force the issue within the applicants, but owned property. But because it is the city, we can urge a recommendation that we just complete the block.
Yeah, it's an offsite improvement technically.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the site plan subject to the conditions listed in the staff report with the following changes. That on bullet number 3, that a landscape plan must be submitted and reviewed to assure that all parking lot, landscape, and tree standards are met, but that landscape plan comes back to the planning commission for review and approval. The other thing we'd like to add is, as a condition of approval, is if there is the right of way, that we recommend including the sidewalk construction all the way around the building and up to 2600 north. Is that covered?
550 east. Is that
Along 550
east?
east.
Yeah.
Mr. Mancaro, would you like to amend that to include any discussion on the parking stalls?
Well, I think I'm okay with bullet number 2 as written, is that up to 40 additional parking, some kind of a design plan we'll be looking at a future meeting for up to 40 additional parking. spaces.
I would just recommend we change that up to, so they have,
So
that we
there's a
leave
number,
it as a minimum of 40.
Okay, yeah, let me make one amendment then to bullet number 2 on the conditions of approval that design and consideration for 40 additional parking spaces be reviewed by planning commission at a future meeting. And that preferably not to have those parking spaces be on the footprint of the current public safety building.
And then do we need to say anything with it, where it's within a reasonable distance of the buildings? Because I think across the street there would be fine. I just want to make sure that, to me, that's a reasonable distance
Yeah.
to put it at the civic center over there.
Do you think it's covered this, that we'll look at it
Yeah,
at
I
a
think our
future
review
meeting?
would be,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
If we don't like it, then I guess.
yeah. I mean, I understand what we're doing, but I hope that's
Okay.
clear enough in the ordinance.
I'll second that.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Commissioner Barker,
Yes.
Commissioner Lunt,
Yes.
Commissioner Nancarrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Webb,
Yes.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Mason,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right. That moves on. Item number 6 is public comments. Is any public joined us tonight?
Nope.
Well, we will go to remarks from planning commissioners. Any remarks otherwise? I just wanted you to change that because, 2 is up to 20. So if they added 2 stalls. All right. Scott, do you have anything?
I don't, we need to get back on the training, so we'll post some more training for you guys. We have the 4 hours that are required. I did find out that we overtrained you last year because attendance at all the meetings, or so many meetings, which everybody here attends really well, counts as an hour. So sorry that you got 5 hours of training plus, like 100 hours that you actually spent in the seats doing the meetings. And then we have what feels like kind of a backlog of a number of projects that are coming that we've just been dealing with small issues on. So we've got some subdivisions that you'll be seeing. And then we've done our Title 11 and 12 past City Council. So currently we're under the new ordinance that we passed, but it's not updated on the website yet, just so you're aware. We're operating off of a PDF of it essentially until that code change happens. It's significant. It's hundreds of, a couple hundred pages. So it's a big changeover for our codifiers. But just be aware that when we said this to City Council, that already just in using it, I'm finding some missing references and other little incorrect things. And we're going to log those on a sheet as we use the ordinance over the next several weeks or couple months, and bring back probably a batched set of amendments to that to just clean, do little minor cleanups on it. But otherwise, things are going well, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and really appreciate the work that you all do as citizen planners. It's just critical for the city. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. John's not with us tonight, so Kai, since you're here, do you have anything? All right. Well, motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Uh,
Aye. Any opposed?
Stay longer.